This is Jonathan Aguilar here for Pro Boxing Fans. I'm delighted to be joined by the voice, Mr. David Diamante, here in Leeds ahead of Lara-Warrington 2. David, how's your trip over? Just been talking about it.
Yeah, hi Jonathan. It was a long trip, but I'm here. It was good. It was from Brooklyn to Newark, New Jersey. Flew out of Newark, so that's in New York traffic, that's a good hour and a half drive. Then the flight over, which was smooth, flew to London. Over an hour to get through customs, massive line, a lot of planes coming in. And then took a car from London all the way up to Leeds. So yesterday there was not a lot of sleep. I got here, jumped in the shower, did the open workout, smoked a couple cigars, and I crashed out. But I feel great today, so I'm here and I'm used to this, man. This is the life.
This is the life. I mean, it sure be worth it just to hear those fans on Saturday night.
Man, it's going to be, man. Headingley is going to be amazing. I can't wait. 20,000 strong here in Leeds for the Leeds Warrior, Josh Warrington. It's, repeat or redeem. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens. It's a really tough fight. Obviously, I called the first one at Wembley. I just think Josh overlooked Lara. And it was a banana peel, but at the same time, was it? And we're going to find out, because this time he knows what it is going into it. And I've said this before, sometimes fighters, when they win a title or they win a big fight, even sometimes when they lose, but if they fight a very worthy opponent and feel like they did well, they become better fighters afterwards, because they know they belong now. I'm about to talk with Jessica McCaskill today on my podcast. I host the Matchroom Radio podcast.
Yeah, very good, yeah.
Thank you. And when she fought Katie Taylor back in York Hall years ago, she lost the fight, but after that fight, she knew she belonged. I'm going to talk to her about that today on the podcast. And now, look, she won 2 belts at super lightweight. She cleaned him out at welterweight. She's, undisputed champ at 147. Pretty amazing stuff. And I think that Mauricio, the reason I talk about that is because of Lara, bringing it back to this fight. I think Lara coming into that fight, I remember very, very well that week. I was there with Lara's team kind of early because they were coming from Mexico. I was coming from America. We were quarantined. Pretty much everyone else was from the UK, so they could come later, but we were there. So I was hanging out with his team, and they were really nice guys, very humble. And he was just amazed by the whole thing. I mean, they had, well, you can see over here, but they have like paintings of the guys. And we were sitting having lunch one time, and he didn't even see that there was a painting. I said, "Oh, did you see the painting of yourself?" And he saw it, and he was just, his eyes lit up. He went over, he took a picture with it. He asked if he could take it home afterwards. And, I think it was a really big deal for him. And I think now he knows he belongs, and he doesn't want to give up what he's just gotten. So he's very tough, and fighters from Mexico City especially, everyone knows Mexican fighters are tough, but Mexico City is a very special place because it's a higher altitude. These fighters have different lungs. They have a different endurance than most normal people. Lara is not a joke. He's coming to fight. If you saw him on the pads at the open workout yesterday, Warrington's in for a tough test.
David, how much do you think the crowd backing Josh Warrington, he's never lost in Leeds, it's going to be a ferocious atmosphere. Do you think that plays a part, or are we reading too much into that?
I think you're reading too much into it. I mean, look, I think it's going to be for both guys, because I'll tell you this, for certain guys being booed, you hear that as cheers. It can egg you on just as much as the cheers can egg on Josh. So I think it is a crowd. The crowd is a huge factor, but I think it's there for both guys. Yeah. And Josh said it here at the press conference. It's going to be like a second wind, and it's going to be like the 12th man or the 6th man or whatever sport you want to compare it to. But at the end of the day, it's 2 men in there in a fist fight. So like the crowd can't fight for you, and the more Lara hears boos, he's going to love that. It's going to egg him on, just like Josh hearing the cheers. The other thing, too, to be really honest with you, sometimes you see this a lot. I see this a lot in baseball. And I don't know if you're a baseball guy. Your fans out there probably aren't. But it's a great sport. It's not boxing. It ain't boxing, but I love baseball. Yeah. And you'll see a pitcher up there in a really tense moment in a game. And, there's a lot of strategy to a pitch count. And the crowd starts super cheering, but it's like almost eggs him on to throw a strike when he maybe needs to paint the corner a little bit, or maybe throw a ball or throw inside, because it's all strategy to set up the real pitch you want to throw. And sometimes the crowd can throw a pitcher off of his game because he's trying to please the crowd too much. same way it can happen with a fighter. You know, a fighter's doing his thing. It might be better for him, let's say, to box. Like, for example, you know, Warrington's not known as a knockout artist, right? He doesn't have a ton of knockouts. Lara, on the other hand, this guy throws bombs. He's got a lot of power. So he's knocked out a lot of guys, and he knocked out Josh last time. So if Josh starts hearing that crowd, he's, like he said, he's proud. He's the Leeds warrior. He's in his hometown. He might want to just go toe-to-toe and step. That could be a problem. So I think fighters out there can take a lesson from the great Floyd Mayweather. This guy was wonderful at hyping fights, causing turmoil, blah, blah, blah. But when the fight happened, he fought smart. He did what he needed to do to win each round. Whether the crowd booed, I mean, I remember crowds booing at Mayweather fights. He didn't care. He preserved that O. He got the W at the end. And it's the same thing with Joshua fighting Ruiz the second time in Saudi. Look, it might not have been the big knockout win. You know, he won on points, but he got the win. He came back and he slayed the beast. He closed that chapter. Josh needs to do the same thing.
Exciting undercard, just want to briefly touch on it. Conor Benn, one of the most exciting talents in Britain right now, really fired up today, ready to fight.
I just love Conor Benn so much, you know, and I love watching him fight. I love him as a person, his pops. Yeah, he's just great. And but I also really dig Adrian Granados.
Yeah.
I know him and his whole family, his trainer George. They're great guys. And Adrian's very tough. He's fought the Murderer's Row 147. Yeah, he's fought a who's who. Obviously a lot more experience, but like Conor said, at this point anyone he fights really is going to be more experienced than he is, so he's not worried about that. And Conor has that fire, but you know, we want to see a real test. The Sammy Vargas fight, it just happened so fast, it didn't give the fans a lot to sink their teeth into, and I think we're hoping that Granados will prove a tougher test. And I think that it'd be great to see Conor Benn go into some later rounds and see kind of what's there.
Katie Taylor's journey, I was speaking to her earlier. Design put something out about how she's gone from playing Irish football to undisputed champion. It's just been an unbelievable journey.
She's an amazing person. She's an amazing person, and she's done so much for the sport, so much for women's boxing. She's just an amazing person. But, you know, that being said, Jennifer Hahn is really tough, and she's an amazing person, too. I've known her family for quite a long time. I did a fight for her brother, A.B., back in, I think it was 2009, back in San Diego. It's the first time I met the Hahn family. They're from El Paso, Texas, and they're a fighting family. They have a big history in the fight game, and Jennifer Hahn, you know, her mom was sick. Her mom passed recently, but before that, her mom was sick, and Jennifer was really the matriarch of that family. So she's been through a lot of tough stuff herself. She's former IBF featherweight champion. She just had her second child about 6 months ago. So she's got a great story too, and I don't think this fight's going to be just that easy walkover that a lot of people think, just because they don't know who Jennifer Hahn is. I know who Jennifer Hahn is. She is coming to give Katie Taylor the best fight that she can, and it's going to be very interesting to see that. Like I said, the Hahn family is a very proud family, and they're a fighting family.
Just some fight breakdowns. Two I want to get from you, David. Anthony Joshua-Oleksandr Uysk is just a few weeks away. It seems the closer it's getting, the more chance people are giving Oleksandr Usyk, but obviously Anthony Joshua is favourite. How do you see it all playing out?
Well, obviously I'm going to be there, so I don't want to say who I think is going to win, but yeah. I love this fight. It's super intriguing. It's a dangerous fight for both guys. It's a dangerous fight for both guys. I mean, look, you could see Usyk just trying to be slippery the whole time in boxing, you know, and just trying to pepper and move around. You could also see Joshua, if Joshua's going to need to cut off the ring and put it on him. I think Joshua has that power. We've never seen Usyk really. Usyk's not a knockout artist, you know. I mean, he's got stoppages, but he's not known as like a one-punch knockout artist, not even at cruiserweight. So it's an interesting fight. The style, again, styles make fights. You know, they say that for a reason. It's an interesting fight. It's a really, really interesting fight. Very intriguing. I can't wait to see what happens.
And November 6th, locked in Canelo Alvarez-Caleb Plant. Undisputed. It's a mega fight.
It's a mega fight. But, I mean, for me, I love Caleb Plant. What a story he has. And, man, he is a tough guy. But it's just hard to see anyone beating Canelo right now. But I mean, Caleb is very, very confident, which you have to be to go into a fight like this. Let's see what he can do. I mean, I would love also to see him fight Benavidez. I think David Benavidez is very tough. But just Canelo Alvarez has proven time and again that he's so dedicated to this sport, and he seems to do the right thing, and he just gets in these mega fights, and he really seems to be the guy to beat right now. So it's a huge fight. Cannot wait for it. And Canelo-Plant's as tough as they come, so it should be a cracker.
And final one, who would you say David Diamante's favourite fighter of all time, and why?
My favorite fight or fighter?
Both.
Well, my favorite fighter, Sugar Ray Leonard. Favorite fight? I don't know. That's hard. There's like a bazillion fights that I love. Yeah, we can do another interview talking about that sometime. But there's so many great fights, and for many different reasons. I don't know if I have a favorite fight of all time. There's just so many. If I say one, then I'm like, but then there's this one. There's a lot of great fights. I think, really what makes a great fight to me is two evenly matched opponents going head to head, both with supreme belief that they're going to beat the other guy. It always produces incredible results. And when there are amazing stories behind these guys, then it's just, it's unreal. That's why, to me, the sport it's unparalleled. There can be some really bad fights. Sometimes they really stink. But man, when it's great, nothing touches it. Nothing. It's the best sport in the world.
Well, hopefully we'll do another one where we go through maybe a top 5 or something like that. But David, I know you've got your podcast to do. Doing some great stuff with that on you get YouTube, Spotify?
Yeah, it's on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, Matchroom Radio with David Diamante, and just talking to the fighters and trying to see what they're all about.
Well, make sure you tune into that. David Diamante, roll on Saturday night, Lara-Warrington 2. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, man.